So I had to eat the chicken on the ride over because I ended up being a little late, and everybody's here already. I didn't know they were here, but they're filming a Q&A. That's for the Raw YouTube, so go check that out if you want to see it. It's Q&A with Joe and then Nick Loth. He's a freaking monster. But yeah, I'm gonna pound this rice really quick. Pound some pre. Mine's restocking September 24th, by the way. And then we're gonna jump right into a chest workout. So let's get to it. Oh, it does the thing. It's dark over there.
Oh God.
It's really dark.
Thunder buddies for life.
And then they wrap their PPs. We don't do that.
Calvin, you do that with Chris?
Code Vaughn too much.
Oh God. Okay.
He doesn't use Code Vaughn at all, so it doesn't happen.
I have it on my phone.
Fuck. Yeah. So it was kind of rude for me to come in and then not say hi, but
No, that's all right.
I was getting a little hangry. So.
Oh yeah, no, that's all right. Yeah, that'll make you more friendly with me. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Man, you ready to go for some chest, or need to digest for a minute or two, or?
No, I'm good to go.
Okay,
yeah.
sweet. All right.
Yeah.
So what's obviously we can talk a little bit about if you want how we want to structure this. As far as like, I would probably like to start with what do you normally do on a chest day, and then we can balance. Is it something where you want me to kind of take you through your own chest day and maybe see if we can modify and tweak some things off of that? Or is it something where it's like you want me to just completely put you through something, or maybe a little bit of both? Or
You could just put me through it.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to start with like a stretch movement, and then I'll be good to go. So
Sweet.
yeah.
All right. Well, that's easy.
Yeah.
Nice. And like bigger scale things, like what do you got going on? I mean, as far as you got prep goals in mind or something, or what's the game plan as far as where this fits in with the bigger picture of where you're at?
So I'm just starting like off-season bulk.
Yep.
Like I just competed like late June, and just starting to finally like get back into it. Starting to feel good training. So,
Yeah.
It's time to get big.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Time for some hypertrophy.
Yeah.
Shall we hypertrophy? We'll do it. All right. We'll hypertrophy some stuff. It's like a water finder or a cell phone finder. And all that it's going to be is like a pink balloon, and I'm just going to tie it to things, and then it's in the gym, and that's that. But you can't just get a pink balloon. You have to get one that has the Hypertrophy Coach logo on it, and it's $29.95. And then you just tie it to your phone, you tie it to your water, and then you won't ever lose it in the gym anymore.
It's not the worst idea. It's actually a good idea.
Code Vaughn.
Good one.
Thought about doing that video like 20 different times. I'm always like, oh, today on the way to the gym, I'll stop at Publix and get a balloon. And then I just get in my routine and completely forget about it. And then as I'm leaving the gym, I'm like, oh shit, I should have got that balloon.
I'm actually kind of nervous. I think I'm more nervous for this than legs with Nick.
Oh God.
Yeah. Just because he's not, I don't think he's trained though. Is he trained?
No.
Yeah. So he's just going to beat the shit out of me. See, Nick had to go through it too, so. I'm more scared of the fact that he's drinking out of a mason jar. You know he's been through some shit when he's drinking out of a fucking mason jar. I'm gonna die today.
It's okay. You're gonna get a juicy chest out of it.
Hopefully.
How long you been in Stewart?
Since late February, like early March.
Where were you before then?
Jersey.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Came down here just for Oliver Vibe?
Yes.
Nice. I'm in Tampa now, and I've been there since 2015. And I was in like Sarasota before that, which is like an hour south of Tampa. I've been pretty much in Florida my whole life.
Okay.
I was born in Pennsylvania, but I moved here when I was 6. So I was in Pinellas area when I moved down here, just like west of Tampa. And then I went to school in Gainesville, then a job in Sarasota, then from Sarasota to Tampa.
Okay.
That's where I'm at now.
So like 2 years ago, I lived in like just an hour, like 45 minutes south of Sarasota.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
Arcadia.
Okay, yeah. I know
Yeah.
how it is, yeah. Yeah.
But I like it there.
Yeah, it's nice. And there's lots of nice spots in Florida. I honestly like, I mean, I'm there now, obviously, so I'm biased, but I think I like Tampa the best so far.
Oh yeah.
We were saying that.
Yeah. I do. I think I favor Tampa over, or the West Coast over the East Coast.
Yeah. I joke there's the balance of like, there's a little bit more to do,
Yeah.
which is nice. And then it's also like, even though like I freaking hate Orlando, so like Orlando, there's plenty to do, but then like everything else about Orlando is horrible.
Yeah.
So, tips for flies. If you're gonna do specifically a cable fly variation, use a bench. I'm not saying it's like horrible to do them standing, but if you do a bench instead of standing, you have less to coordinate. Anytime you do anytime you're standing, you have to balance your body and the cables first and foremost. And even though that's not always a big deal, it is one more thing to focus on. And then ultimately, if you do them heavy enough, which obviously at some point in time there can be reason for it, then there's some point in time then you really have to focus on lean this. Like I've seen guys literally like lean this far forward trying to do cables, their body's moving around as they're doing the cables. If you're focused more on that, it'll actually limit your output from your chest. You'll be able to do less load than if you were just seated. So it's very simple. If you're seated, there's less to focus on, and you can handle more weight, which is kind of a win-win. So for pretty much everybody, if you can, pull a bench over, your flies will be more isolation in your pec and more load on your pecs. Tip number 2, if you haven't tried it, try doing a roller. So for your pecs to stretch as far back as they can. Some of it is how far do you bring your arm back, but the other part, like, so this is as far as I can bring my arm back. If I pull my shoulder blades together, it can come back that much further. So basically this is the insertion, this is the origin. If those 2 points get further together or further apart, it's more of a stretch. So this generally, because this is obviously rounded, will let your shoulder blades get back further, and so generally get more of a stretch. And then you'll try it out. I'll just show you what it looks like, obviously just a fly, but seated. But what you'll feel it is the difference as well too. So if you've never done it, give it a try. Aside from me saying that it sounds awesome, it'll give you a better stretch, let your shoulder blades move better. It feels, and I can make an argument, it might be a little bit better for the shoulder joints as well. And as far as things line up here, keep a pretty big arch in your chest. But we're just gonna try and set up the cables and your upper arm so it's kind of in line with your lower pec, right? Okay. So we'll mess around with the cable. So obviously we wouldn't want it if it's like too high, on too much of a decline, or too low, and more of a decline. You're doing a fly, so any exercise, most exercises have a place that's really more beneficial than the other. Like if you're doing a dumbbell press, like the bottom's the hard part, right? Like the top, not as much. You know, so if someone's doing a dumbbell press, they really make sure you got that top part or the bottom part nailed. The full range of motion is important. So like little stuff that I'll cue often is not that you have to do this, but pause where it's, at least during your warm-up sets, where the exercise has benefit. So he's doing a nice little pause in the stretch because you're loaded in the stretch. So when you pause, you make sure you're not using momentum, you're using your muscle. And he's doing a nice little peak contraction at the top as well too. Now again, if we were doing a dumbbell fly, I'd be like, that's kind of a waste of time because the load's gonna be stacked over your shoulder joint. There's no tension here. But like I said, how we have this set up, there's tension through the whole range of motion. So people that are pretty in tune with their bodies, it looks like he's just making the whole thing hard, which is the goal. So at home, if you're warming up and doing stuff, really use your warm-up sets to take your time, you know, especially at the end ranges. Am I actually stretching my pec here? And then am I starting the motion with my pec? Am I actually finishing with a pec contraction? So good stuff that he's doing on his warm-up, making sure that he's actually utilizing the whole range of motion, not bouncing anywhere and not cheating as he comes into the finish. The only thing I'll say to think about on this one is, again, because pecs pull, you know, if we look at that, again, that origin insertion thing, at the end, it's really pulling across. So just as a little cue, just to think about it, when you're coming across, keeping your chest nice and tall, think about like smashing your bicep into the side of your pec. And again, it's not that, the only reason I'm telling you, it's just a nice different cue to think about. You know, lots of times people think about their hands, you're not gonna get as much out of your pecs. So if I think about something right here, sometimes that cue helps people get an even stronger, better pec contraction. So everything else is exactly the same. You just see how that feels thinking about that.
Oh boy.
The chest already pumped. Feeling it. It was good though.
I was watching this the whole time, and I think he corrects himself on it, so I didn't have to do it a whole lot. If I could attach a string right here, if you're really committed to the gains, I'm gonna put a bolt right in your sternum. And then when you're there, I'm gonna attach a string to it and keep this pulled forward. So imagine you got a string attached to your sternum. Again, if you're really committed, actually put a bolt in there or whatever, somebody will do it. And then from there, the whole time you're doing chest, keep that pulled this way. So again, as soon as it goes, as soon as this moves, you're gonna change the length of your pec. You're gonna lose or gain tension off of your pec. So keeping this nice and tall the whole time will keep the pecs in a good position to do a lot of work. Again, it's that same thing that kind of goes together with the protracting. When someone wants to give up on their chest, it's hurting too bad or whatever, they'll protract and they'll let their chest cave in. So keeping that nice and tall in the same position the whole time. Again, keep more tension on the pecs and not let other stuff kind of take over. The last one, I'm gonna have you extend the set just going into a few presses. But keep the pace slow still, so don't go to the point where it's like, oh, okay, partials with presses. We'll finish again, whatever 8, 10 flies, and then right from the top, just bend that elbow all the way, and we'll just do a couple, kind of just a little bit more at the bottom, just nice smooth pace. Okay. All right. There we go, that's perfect. More like that. Stretch. Smooth contraction. Cross, cross, cross. A little bit of press, just the bottom. Right there. Yep, smooth pace. Good. No higher than that, that's fine. Just stay right in the bottom. Good, slow it down a little bit, slow it down. Press, they can be short. 2 more. 1 more. Good, gotcha. That makes sense. But we'll talk about it a little bit. I won't tweak a whole lot, but people always ask about like the incline related to getting to your upper chest to work more, and your arm path is much more important than the incline. So again, if I have an arm path where basically if you just think of the plane that your arm's moving in, wherever that upper arm is coming across and kind of pointing to is going to work more. So again, having your upper arm just tucked a little bit, and obviously you can see the angle then if I go through this plane, the angle is going to finish more up across. So that's if I literally could just see this kind of cutting through my body, you can see that this kind of points a little bit more towards the center of the clavicle. So for the most part, even if you're on something that's only 20 to 30 degree incline, if your elbows are tucked a little bit more and you have a little bit more intent of your upper arm to kind of finish, again, aiming like the goal is aiming at your sternum or right at your clavicle, you're going to get more upper fibers doing it that way. So. Good. 2 more. Smooth. Squeeze. Good. Nice. There's always a balance of that, right? Where it's like, it's not, I have some people that they're focused so much on form that they never work hard, right? Like the second someone comes, like, is like 5 degrees off of wherever they think it should be, they just like stop. Oh, it's like form's not good. So like I think as long as you're thinking about that, that's always just like a good kind of checks and balances. Get a little fast, a little bouncing.
Yeah.
But it's like these things where if you always use your warm-up sets to have like absolutely perfect form, then at least you're kind of aware of where you're at. And like I said, you kind of balance those 2 things out. So
Feel your chest a lot better.
yeah, yeah, and that's at the end of it too. It's like, you can always make things harder with form. Like the good part about that is that it's always better for your joints, right? While you can still get a lot of stimulus on your chest, using heavier weights, sometimes your joints take a beating along the way as well too. So if you always got that form nailed down, make it hard on your chest, then easy on the joints. Keep it smooth, I got you. Control. Yep. Again, right here with control. Yep, another one, I got you. That chest ball. Get to the bottom. Squeeze. Yep. 1 more. Get your head on, stay tight. I'll get you there. Control, control, control. Chest. Go. Yeah. Good. Nice work, man. Good set.
How we doing?
Feeling it. I like training like this where you slow it down. You feel a lot more.
Nice.
Yeah.
control. Chest across, across, across. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. And I'm gonna have you just at the bottom now. Slow, slow, slow. Stay right there. Slow reps right to this height. Right there. Good. Slow it down. There we go. 3 more. Don't care how short they go. 2. 1 more.
Oh my God.
Nice. What's that?
Feels good.
They're fun, right?
Yeah. Fine, fun. This.
One, just because obviously, like, even though the cables are technically machined, there's obviously a lot of stability there as well too. Obviously, the dumbbells, a lot of stability involved as well. So I like to move into a machine. I like machines that converge, so the handles come together. And so that's a benefit of, like, so what's the difference between this press and that press over there is this one's going to have tension all the way through the top. And then we'll mess around. The prime stuff's cool, so kind of use the plates, moving them around to do some fun stuff to finish. Yeah.
You want my hands
Probably on this one, but keep them if anything. So we'll do. Some of the stuff you might not want to do exactly the same. Like, honestly, not that you have to do anything drastically different, but obviously the first exercise, you know, I made you do a lot of work there. So we probably did, you know, I think at least 3 working sets, right? Which I think can be fine. But if you maybe want to go a little bit heavier on the dumbbells, you could always use that more as a warm-up and then go into heavier dumbbells more fresh. Or you could do 2 options. You could even, like, literally just do, like, again, 1 or 2 sets there completely short of fatigue, just because you like to take the pecs through that range of motion, stretch, warm up, do your heavy dumbbells, and then you could go back to the exercise and do it for work after that. So that's one of those things where you can mess around with the order, in my opinion, and just kind of find out what you work best with and what you feel like you progress with best. But to answer it, like, I think everything works best with longer rest periods, again, especially for the beginning of your workout. So like we're going to do today, I would want to rest as long as you can. Even, like I said, I moved you a little bit quicker on the flies just because I was giving you a lot, and I wanted to obviously tip each time and make sure we get some work done. But so that might be the only thing I do a little bit different. A little longer rest over there, a little longer rest on the dumbbells, a little longer rest on here. Towards the end of the workout, I will have you finish with something. We'll probably do like a superset-y type thing. And that's the stuff, obviously, if the superset, the goal is to get a lot done in a short period of time. But long term, the thing that you want to have stuff that you can actually track, logbook, progress, and having longer rest times will allow you to do that better, which I think is the most important thing. And then again, because you have a whole session, I think that's why I said like 80% of your session should be, whether you do 3 or 4 or 5 exercises first, kind of whatever you like to do, heavy straight sets. And then I do like to finish with something generally. Sometimes it's only like 10-15 minutes top, but might be where I put in a superset or even a tri-set or something. Because at the end of your workout, no matter what you're doing, like you're not going to be at peak loads, right? Had you done that exercise, whatever you're doing last, had you done it first, it would have been a heavier weight. So it's like people are always like, well, is it even effective at the end if I'm using way less weight? Well, as long as you're still training close to failure, there's benefit to it. And so that's why I think just from a time standpoint, if I can superset something to the point where I'm hitting some failure points, and a lot of them in a short period of time, there's still some benefit to that as well too. And then anecdotally, just gets a nasty pump, so yeah. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah. I feel kind of silly for never using this.
Yeah, well, you don't know until you know, right? Yeah. It is a really good piece though. I mean, there's some stuff where machines, it doesn't make that big of a difference, and some machines are crap, but this just happens to be a really, really solid piece, yeah.
Definitely gonna use it a lot more.
Top's going to be very hard, so it's just going to feel like it's not too hard to start, and it just gets really hard as you go to the finish. So we're going to take it all the way to failure with that. But I'm going to have you stay in there, so set it down. I'm going to take a plate off, probably do another one with a plate off. I'm going to have you sit and rest again, and then I'm going to move one plate to the top, and then we're going to go to failure again there as well too. One more. Control. You know, this isn't a movement that in general I'd incorporate all the time in a session, or I wouldn't incorporate it earlier just because of the relative limited range of motion. But because of what we already did, we trained his pecs through their full range of motion already. So we fully stretched them, we fully shortened them, we've done some flat, we've done some incline. So in that case, I like to have something where the range of motion is limited to where you're pretty strong, which for here, not going all the way to stretch, is kind of right in the mid-range, and it's very stable. We're in a Smith machine. So I kind of call this, just from my kind of coaching experience, or at this point in the session where he's fatigued, whatever's left. So really we're just trying to get whatever we can left out of the pecs. We're gonna do straight sets of this to failure on the floor. And then again, to just have a little bit more kind of dense volume, a little bit more work in a short period of time, which in my opinion, this is where I like supersets, things like that at the very end of the session. We're gonna superset this right to push-ups. And that's also a nice sequence too, because the limited range of motion, while there's nothing wrong with it, I do then like to go right to something with a push-up, which is full range of motion. So again, we're training this heavy, and then he's gonna hop in and get all the way into that stretch position and actually be able to take stuff through full range of motion just with body weight to finish as well too. So, and then honestly, training economy is a thing as well too. Just meaning, if I said, hey, superset this with something that's across the gym, that's not a super convenient superset. This is nice because you only need one spot. So you're here, you're doing your press on the floor already, hop up to the superset to the same spot. Don't have to take up more than one piece of equipment or walk across the gym while you're at it either. Yep. Go. Yep. Again. Go. Yep. Again. Come on. Finish. Yep. Good. Come on. Come on at the bottom. Control. Hard squeeze. Good.
Holy shit.
Take a break. So one more time. Good set. So when his gym crush walks in, she walks in right around the door, and he's doing body weight push-ups on the Smith, and he can't do more than 5. She's, don't judge me. You should have seen the beginning of the workout.
After doing the floor press, though, those push-ups,
The burn.
you feel every inch of that. Your all-time favorite chest movement? Or?
Chest movement?
Yeah.
No. I mean, honestly, I have some that I like. If I'm going to do a fly variation, I pretty much always do that cable one we started with, or variations of it, because it's almost like there's a time and a place where I might do other. But if you're thinking, if I'm going to program one fly, like I have a hard time not programming that, right? Because if I did a dumbbell, like dumbbell flies aren't bad, but it's only hard here. The whole rest of the way is easy, right? And then the benefit of a cable fly is I can set it up where it's challenged at the bottom all the way to the top. And like I said in the beginning, it's like, why would I ever do a standing cable fly if I could just do that seated? And then like, why would I ever go on a flat bench if I could feel like I get more range of motion with that roller? So there's times like that where there's variations that I like. Well, still occasionally, like honestly, in my program right now with Terrence, like I still have a pec deck in one of the days, just because we have basically 2 days that we hit some chest. We have one day we literally have one chest exercise, and then we have another day that we have like 3 or 4 chest exercises. And so just because of different programming and because he likes it, we put the pec deck on one day and that fly on another day. So the notion of like a little bit of variety, just so you're not doing the same patterns, I think is fine. But if I'm only having one, I pretty much program that one. And then so there's sometimes like that, I'll gravitate towards one when it just like, it, you know, when I'm making an exercise or I'm thinking of an exercise, I'm always like, well, what's the goal of the exercise? And if I have something that accomplishes that so well, then I'm like, why would I do anything different? But for a lot of like chest stuff in particular, there's a lot of presses that are good options, right? So almost any, and like there's nothing inherently better about flat to slight incline to high incline. They're all just different things. Barbell pressing honestly is still fine. Like obviously there's a little bit more consideration with like, you don't have as much freedom with arm path. So like sometimes people have to just be a little bit more specific so they don't have joint issues. But a lot of people, they work perfect. So I wouldn't say, oh, dumbbells are way better than barbells. No, they both kind of have value and can trade off. But then it's like, is a barbell better than a Smith incline? I wouldn't say so. There's trade-offs with that as well too. And then same with machines. So honestly, like with pressing, I think you have a lot more variety that's all very effective. I wouldn't say, and that's honestly how I do most of my pressing programming with myself or anybody, or same thing using Terrace as an example. We might just rotate that just a little bit more with how things feel, because again, just the nature of pressing sometimes can lead to some more joint stuff. So like again, we'll just kind of rotate based on kind of what feels. We'll normally put something in and keep it in for a few months, and then sometimes. So literally, if I look back over the past couple of years of our chest programming, we've had incline machines or big movements. We've had incline dumbbells, incline barbells, incline Smith, and we just kind of rotate a little bit off of kind of what accomplishes that goal.
Okay. Then with that program, do you stay strictly just like chest movements, or do you toss in like a bicep or a tricep movement as well?
Just depends on the. So right now, how we have our split set up. I mean, if chest was a focus, I don't think there's anything wrong with having just a chest day. But the way we have a push day. So the day that we do chest, we do like basically 3 chest movements to start, and then one of them's kind of chest front deltish, and then we have a delt movement, and then we have like 2 tricep movements. And so that's kind of like a push day. But then on another day, just how it works out, we have another day is 3 back movements, 1 chest movement, and 1 delt movement. I'm trying to think, there's a third movement in there as well too, or whatever. So it's basically a day where we're just hitting some more frequency for body parts, because we have our split now as push, pull, lower, and then we have a day that again is 3 back movements, chest, and a delt. And then we have an arm day as well too, just based on, so we have a little bit more frequency for some of the stuff we're trying to bring up.
Yeah.
But I don't ever have we've had just the chest day, we've had just the push day, we've had whatever. So kind of always just adjust based on the goal.
Gotcha.
So.
Are you trying to like, at least with Terrence, are you like focusing on one particular muscle group right now, or?
Honestly, right now he's like the most balanced he's ever been. But that being said, like his legs. So this was at the last Olympia, they literally said his balance is perfect. They just said make him, because prior to that we had always done a ton more upper body. I'd even essentially kept his leg training very, very minimal, so his legs didn't get any bigger basically. And that was the first time they said he's balanced, everything can just kind of proportionally grow. But I know his legs still just grow a little bit faster than everything else. So I'd say we have a little bit more priority on arms. And then honestly, the rest, we've incorporated a little bit more back now. I mean, it's probably between his quads and his back his best body part, but that's like one of those like kind of when in doubt, your back can't be too big, especially when he's got quads like he has. Yeah. So that's the only reason we had a little bit more back frequency this year, just to see what it looks like when his back's just a little bigger, a little freakier. Because again, it's like one of those body parts. As long as your quads match your back really can't be too big. And so we just want him to be really dominant on those poses. But aside from that, just arms a little bit. And again, it's the same thing where it's because of the size of his back and the size of his legs, his arms are never going to be too big. So we always just keep a little bit more on that as well too. So, but yeah.
What's next?
That's that.
That's that?
That's chest, man. It's done. We did all of it.
Chest is fried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so just to obviously speak for the workout, so obviously, hopefully, like the goal of the workout coming in ahead of time was, if we can give you a little form, cues and tips and tweaks and stuff that hopefully you can carry past this session, obviously things that'll help you. And then obviously, I think this is a good workout, right? So it did everything. So again, if there's some things that you actually want to repeat, obviously fantastic. The only thing is I'm saying it's like stuff you don't have to do all the time, just because of the nature of obviously we're getting kind of like a one-off session, is we did some like intensifiers you wouldn't have to do every time, right? Where it's like I probably had you do, because the fly was probably the only movement you really hadn't, even though you haven't done that machine before, there's not much to learn there. So the fly, I had you do more sets than I probably would, just because I was like giving you more time to kind of learn it and make sure it felt good. And obviously maybe the floor press is kind of new. But aside from that, I might have you do a little bit, if you were doing it on your own, maybe a little less work at the fly. Like I said, even mess around with the order there, maybe do a warm up, maybe put that in as working later or something. and do your dumbbells maybe first. And then even some of the intensifiers, like we did a drop set there, 2 drop sets here. I mean, I think that stuff, depending on your recovery, that stuff's fine to keep in. I always just say make sure you prioritize your heavy straight sets first. So if whether you do the dumbbells or you do the flies or you do this machine, I would still track what you're doing for your top sets, and those are the things you try and progress. And then really just those little intensifiers, it's just more stimulus, right? So again, if your recovery is good, I think it's fine to keep in. But I would say like some people occasionally get too caught up with like lots of supersets, lots of drop sets, and lots of that stuff. And again, if it's just kind of taking away from you able to like track and progress stuff long term, then that's not great. I think it's something that's just kind of sprinkled in a little bit. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, man. Yeah, good workout.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, form tip number 1 we started with train like Vaughn, which is serious. Obviously, a lot of stuff was like really on point already. The form looked really good and stuff. So it's not like I didn't really have to change a whole lot. Like that's half of it. Like honestly, when I'm telling you things like try this, do this, whatever, like honestly is some of it just so you can just do that, try it. Like some cues might be like, oh, that's a great one, I'm gonna remember that because it helped. Some things might have been not as much or whatever, and then some things are just stuff to think about. Like I said, now when you're doing your dumbbells, thinking about, okay, am I making this as hard as I can? And did I bounce too much? Did I whatever? Just so again, for everything, like especially on your warm-up sets, like you're just thinking, I think is a great practice. Obviously make sure you're not just going through the motions, wasting them. And then the rest of the stuff you can just kind of take and apply what's helpful.
All right, so that is the end of the chest workout. And my chest is absolutely fried, but we slowed things down with Joe and really helped me feel the contraction in my chest, made me feel the muscles just a whole bunch more. And hopefully that's something that's going to help me grow during this off season. Because typically I usually just come to the gym, not that I fuck around, but I do like just tossing weight. But with slowing it down, you definitely feel a lot more. And my chest is like, it's already sore as fuck. So I know it's going to be feeling pretty good tomorrow, but hopefully that stuff helps me grow as well. Right now I'm eating the post-workout meal. I have 185 grams of chicken and then 270 grams of wild rice. I believe it's ancient rice from Sprouts, and the chicken's also from Sprouts. I was a little too lazy to meal prep, so I just picked that stuff up today. And yeah. When I don't meal prep, I like to go to Sprouts, Whole Foods, or some kind of like more like natural store, grocery store at least, to get healthier options. Like this is literally just like a bag of frozen rice, but there's no other additives or anything, no bullshit in it. And this is literally just straight up like cooked chicken breast, and you really can't beat it, especially when you're lazy. So it helps you stay on plan, and it helps you get the good meals in. But I'm running through this right now. I'm fucking dead because Joe killed me, but I'm gonna kill this, head home, and then I might pick it back up there. I might not, but till then, I will see you guys when I see you.